This School of Public Policy and International Affairs has a different ambition. And its ambition, as I understand it, is to train what will be the next generation of global civil society actors, practitioners, activists, researchers, and the like. And perhaps, George, we should commence this discussion with whether you feel that's a sort of apt description as to the ambition of this school and what you would like to see it become over the course of the next number of years.
I think you have actually delineated it perfectly well, but I think I should delineate my own role with this regard, this school, which is that, you know, I have never been in a business school, and I've never had anything to do with the School of Public Policy. So I'm not an expert in saying what the school should or should not do. However, I have been involved both in business investments and in public policy. And we have the foundation which has been a major supporter of social activists. But we perhaps should sort of start with the distinction between open society and civil society, because the two words are usually sort of almost used synonymously, but it's certainly not synonymous in my view. We have been, as a foundation, very much supporting civil society, but in order to build an open society, which is a very, very different thing. Exactly what it is not very well defined, even in my own mind, because it has to do with critical thinking. And as part of critical thinking, in the course of being a practitioner, I had to revise my own views on open society. It's a recognition that our understanding of the world in which we participate is always inherently imperfect. And we have to be, nevertheless, we have to act. We have to make decisions. But understanding that we may be wrong, and one could even take it a little bit further and say, practically inevitably, you will be wrong, because if you are successful and get something right, you get carried away by your success, and eventually you mess up. So I take it a little bit further and say, eventually you're bound to be wrong, and therefore you must be ready to correct your mistakes. And that, I think, is the foundation of the concept of open society.
There are vexing policy questions that the Open Society Foundations can't attack, simply because they don't have the time or capacity or wherewithal. For example, financing international justice, the kind of political economy of justice, how we finance international regimes and global health. These are fundamental policy questions of the day that need to be addressed in a setting in which there are policy practitioners able and capable to engage them. That's not necessarily the role of the foundations. But I just wanted to get your thought, because my sense is there's an enormous amount of thinking that goes on, but it's not necessarily of a systematic, rigorous variety that would answer some of these very large questions germane to the open society worldview that I think we need answers to.
We seem to have specialized as a foundation in actually finding and focusing on insoluble problems. You know, when even in, let's say, in Africa, the countries where we got particularly involved were countries that were torn apart by civil strife, you know, Liberia, Sierra Leone, now this year it's Guinea, Congo, and so on. So even in Africa, we've really kind of got involved in the biggest and the most difficult problems, and the same may be true in other parts of the world. I mean, our involvement with the Roma issue in Europe also points to the same. So these are the problems where we got involved, recognizing that there's the problem, and we were. It seemed like it was clear what needs to be done, or that something needs to be done. But as you get deeper and deeper into it, you have to really understand more what works and what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So I certainly feel the need for more thinking. Mm-hmm. And I had this rather far-fetched idea of trying to outsource that thinking to policy centers or School of Public Policy, because if you do all that thinking yourself, that's an overhead, and it's a private good, you know, for the benefit of the foundation. So let's say the Ford Foundation in its heyday spent 30–40% of its budget on studying the problems rather than tackling them. In other words, the grants were only maybe 60% of their expenditures. Whereas if you do the thinking publicly and you convert it into a body of knowledge, which is a contribution, public good, and if you can also convert it into a curriculum that can be taught, right, that's again a public good. So that's really the interest that the foundation has, mm-hmm, and I have in the School of Public Policy.
You know, you've said on several occasions recently that, and I don't know if this is a rhetorical gesture or not, but that the crisis in Europe today, the economic crisis, in some ways resembles the collapse of communism. And I'm wondering to what extent, if that's more than a rhetorical gesture, to what extent the Central European University, that of course has profound advantage because of its history and the legacies of the transition in the 90s, that this can become its own sort of pedagogical advantage as the school takes forth.
Well, it could be, and I certainly see it. The similarity of what confronts Europe to what confronted the Soviet Union, but it's also, I also see the differences. I mean, Europe is with the Euro crisis has the potential of actually destroying the European Union. It's undermining the European Union. So it's a very profound political and social and economic and effectively moral the crisis that Europe is in. I think it's very much too hard, more so than most people. I don't think, you see, as the Soviet system collapsed, I think everybody in those lands could see it collapsing. You have a similar process of disintegration now occurring, or have started to occur in the European Union, but it's not generally seen by people. In other words, they don't yet feel it as you did when everything actually collapsed in the Soviet Empire.
I have had a burning question throughout the conference. As we just heard, the Open Society Foundations were going after impossible missions, so opening up, trying to open up closed societies. And I wonder what you think that the School of Public Policy can collaborate in this effort, also in terms of teaching. Maybe I say a radical thing here. Teaching how to open up closed societies, how to bring down closed society structures, or it can only teach how to do public policy in democratic, open, at least somewhat open societies, and other students from closed societies can wait and reach out for the Open Society Foundations in their country until they get better luck.
No, I think that the task of opening up closed societies or to restore failed states is far from accomplished. And the experience that the foundation has, the interest that the foundation has, should put the school into a very strong position to study that problem and to learn from past experience and to help us understand what works, what doesn't work. I mean, to give you just a practical example, there is a case of Burma, which is one of the most, has been one of the most closed societies that suddenly opened up. And of course, we are moving in. We were there. We've been there for all that time while it was a closed society. We have the networks, the cadres. I would say that we, as a foundation, we've been in touch with anybody who has shown any kind of independent thinking and was willing to take support from an independent entity eager to help that. So, and now we are welcome by the reformers within the military regime. So it's a tremendous opportunity for the foundation. And if some of that thinking had been done, it would be a great help to us now. It hasn't been done, so we'll just continue to do it seat of the pants. But it's going to be an ongoing need for that kind of knowledge, and I would hope that we would develop it. The school would develop that particular knowledge.
You've been one of the world's most influential philanthropists over a couple decades now, and you say that one of the things you'd like to see the school focus on is evaluation and identifying what works within some of the efforts of your philanthropic initiatives. And I guess I'm wondering a little bit about why now? Why now the focus on impact, on what works? What explains the timing of your particular interest in program evaluation as it relates to your philanthropic efforts?
Why now is actually has to do with my age, because I was practicing critical thinking in the foundation, and developed a certain approach, and in a way, to the extent possible, I would like to institutionalize that. In other words, I expect that the foundation, after my demise, will become more bureaucratic, less entrepreneurial than it is currently. But to the extent possible, I would like to sort of institutionalize and develop that entrepreneurial, critical spirit that we developed. And this thinking is very much a part of that process of institutionalizing it. In other words, I'd like to make it into what you might call a public good that would then permeate the foundation after my time.